Hello, and welcome to week three of Mobility, Technology, and Marketing. And this week, we're going to be talking about the digital marketing landscape, focuses on a digital marketing strategy and how to implement a digital marketing strategy. You will need for this go-to lecture, you will need your reference guide to check the documents in your reference guide, and also you will need to your assignment because this lecture is focused on the information in this lecture help you to complete your assignment three. So let's get started. So today I'm going to talk about the objectives for this week's assignment and learning information. I'm going to also review the deliverables, which is the assignment itself, and I'm going to get right into the lecture. So objectives. What are my objectives for this week? The objectives for you guys this week is to understand the digital marketing planning framework, and which I'll get more into in a bit. But the framework we're going to use is acronym for is the SOSTAC, and to complete a draft of the digital marketing plan canvas. And I'll go in great detail what that canvas looks like and what's included inside the canvas. And so for your deliverables, if you look at your assignment, if you pull up your assignment, I made an update to it. So if you go and load up your latest assignment for week three, what I'm asking you to do is to fill out a digital marketing canvas for a new technology concept or enhancing an existing technology concept utilizing mobility for a sports team. So I'll give you some examples to help you understand what type of ideas you can come up with. So if a sports team is trying to get more fan engagement, you can, and they are currently implementing some sort of technology, whether that be a mobile app, whether that be Wi-Fi in stadium or a combination of them, whether that be um, you know mobile screens or a certain view, whatever technology, mobility technology they use or wireless technology they're using, I want you to leverage that and either enhance that, or if the team or brand does not leverage a technology and you think they have an opportunity to, then I want you to come up with an idea for that as well. So, keeping in mind the information you learned from wireless technologies, in particular the Cisco Connected Stadium reading that you have to do, and the mobility features that we went over. RFID, near field communications, GPS, mobile app, mobile web, um, uh, the gamut. All of the features that we went over, you can utilize um, any of these features on enhancing a current technology or a new technology for a sports team or a brand. So let's get right into the digital marketing framework. So what do we mean by digital marketing framework? The digital marketing framework, it includes the actual, like, the planning infrastructure. This is the are you going about planning for your marketing campaign. Um, a framework just gives you a blueprint and gives you like a sequence of things to do to go about your planning so that it is understood, organized, and efficient. And so the framework that I'm going to talk about today is the acronym for this is SOSTAC planning framework. And what SOSTAC is if you look to the right here, SOSTAC is a chain of events, a sequence of events that you go through in order to complete a digital marketing canvas or digital marketing plan. SOSTAC, starting with the S, it starts here in the situation analysis and it goes all the way around until you get to control. And so we're going to talk into more details about each one of these boxes, but essentially what you're doing is you're answering the following core questions. You're answering, where are we now? Where do we want to be? How do we get there? How exactly do we get there? Who does what when? And how do we monitor performance? And so this framework can be captured on a digital marketing canvas on one sheet of paper. And I'm going to break that out for you and show you what how that looks. But let's start with the first box, which is situation analysis. Um, Before we start there, let's start with the planning your approach. That's the framework itself. So that's the first step, the planning your approach. The approach that we're going to do is we're going to use a 9 box, that SoStack infrastructure I just showed you. That looks like this when it's all said and done. This is a blank one. Here's a digital marketing plan summary using the SoStack framework. And so if I just looking at the box itself, you see it's broken out into 9 boxes. Um, I like to break these 9 boxes out into sections in which, if we look at the first two vertical boxes on the left, which is situation and objectives, they go hand in hand. All right. And so the situation is to where are we now? Where are we now? And the objective is where we want to be. Think of those as the business aspect of the digital marketing plan. That is your bird's eye view top line assessment of the plan. Um, from that point, from your situation, identifying, assessing what your situation is, and after your object, and then going into your objectives, then the next thing you would want to do is come up with a strategy. What is my strategy for achieving my objectives? And the strategy is broken out into 4 boxes. First, identifying who are the target segments. Who are we targeting? Followed by, once we've identified who we're targeting, what is our value proposition? What are we offering them? And then your next strategy is your content marketing. Content marketing is, what are we going to present to them? What type of content are we going to present to them in our marketing strategy? And then the communication strategy is the what channels, what distribution channels, distribution channels are we going to go through um, to deliver this content to them? Once you've established that strategy, that overall core strategy on identifying who it is you're targeting, what it is that you're going to offer them, once you've established who it is, what it is you're going to offer them, how are you going to present the content to them, the medium to them, what is it that you're going to present to them, and then what delivery method are you going to get this content to them. Then we dive down into tactics. The far right side, you see the box that says tactics. The tactics talk to specifically what are the methods that you're going to use to carry out this plan. And so your tactics are broken down into 4 main categories, in which the acronym for it is RACE, which is reach, act, convert, and engage. What that means is, reach is how exactly, what methods are we going to use to reach our target segments? And then once we've reached our target segments, your act is, think of your act as your interaction. What methods are we going to use to interact, to get their attention, to get them to engage uh, with us? How are we going to entice them, get them motivated, right? And once we've presented them with a method for engaging them for interaction, how are we going to then convert? And convert is plain and simple. They're going either from non-customers to customers, non-fans to fans. It's solely based on what your objectives are. How are you going to convert them? How are you going to get a dollar out of their pocket and into your bank account? And then once you've converted them and made them customers or fans or whatever the conversion is that you're trying to accomplish, Then it's time to figure out how do we keep them. So engage, think of engage as nurturing. How do we nurture the relationship with our new customers or new fans so that they continue to come back? And once that's all done and you've identified your strategy, meaning that your approach to this plan, tactically, your exact methods to execute, then the bottom two boxes, which are actions and control, are undoubtedly your most important two boxes. Because if you think of actions, what actions is think of it as milestones. Actions speak to who is going to do what when. It's the accountability box that makes you accountable for yourself, for your team, for your process, and for the objectives. It spells out who is going to do what when. And so once you've established these milestones and put and delegated a resource and put a time on the what, then now it's time to measure and monitor. And that's where the control box comes in. And so this is a summation. As you notice that the boxes aren't large and it's purposefully not large at all because you need to be able to concisely articulate in very simple and short terminology what is it that you're doing. These boxes aren't meant to be totally filled up with a bunch of wording. That's what your support slides are for. And so you would create supporting slides or supporting information that supports the overview of this canvas. So let's get into more details on this. I have an example for you. This is an example using a lawn care company, but I'm going to come back to this. Before I go to this example, I want to talk to you about, I want to continue the step. I've created a 10-step process in getting through this. Step one is just establishing what the framework is. So now that we've gotten a framework, and that framework is the digital marketing canvas, one canvas that identifies your complete plan, assigns resources, make you accountable, and a method for measuring your success. So now let's go through and understand exactly how each box work, how to fill out each box. So that first box you see when we was talking about situation, um, situation analysis. Your situation analysis, answers the questions: Where are we now? And you should describe that in terms of race. Remember, I just spoke that race was stood for. That was the acronym for your reach, act, convert, and engage. When you're thinking about your situation analysis and you're doing your research on it, you want to make sure that you're clearly identified in terms of race. What is my current situation? Where are we now? Is there a problem or is this an opportunity? Have that off the top in your mind. Just map out, do we have a problem that I'm trying to solve for a brand or a company or a team? Or is there an opportunity that I'm trying to leverage? Okay. Once you've identified that, you need to break down that problem or opportunity in terms of race. Do I have a reach problem? Is there a problem reaching our potential customers or existing customers? Is there a problem with our action, with our engage, um, our interaction with these customers, how they're engaging with our value proposition, our product or our service? Do I have a conversion problem? Conversion, are we declining in sales? Are we losing fans? Are we losing interest? Do I have a conversion problem? Or is there a nurturing or engaged problem? Um, are we not catering to our fans' needs after we've made them customers or clients? How are we keeping them happy? And so Your situation is an analysis, and there's tools. If you look at the 7-step guide, there are tools that can be used, like SWOT analysis, where you identify what your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Um, there's things that you can do um, to make sure that you understand what your situation analysis is. As you see here, like the marketplace SWOT, where it talks about the 5 S's, performance and other KPIs. KPI stands for key performance indicators. The 5 S's are like the sell, the sizzle, um, um, the sell, the sizzle, the service, and these are the things that goes into how are you in the marketplace performing now. Customer insight, who, why, how, market trends, competitor analysis, internal capabilities and resources. Do we have an internal problem? And so you're on your situation analysis. Once you've identified what the situation is, what the problem or opportunity is, these tools, which are included into your readings, help you to perform analysis um, on your situation and giving finer details to it. Okay, so once you've done this analysis and you've clearly articulated a short, concise situation in terms of race, the next step will be to now define your objectives. So now we know where we are. Where are we currently? What's our current assessment? The next step is to define your objectives. That means, what are you going to do about it? Okay, so you've identified where you are now. Your objective answers the questions, where do you want to be? An example of where we are now will be ticket sales at the stadium are declining 20% year over year. So every season, our ticket sales has been declining 20% for the last 5 years. Um, where do you want to be? You want to increase ticket sales by 50%. And so the where you want to be should directly answer the question of the problem or opportunity that you had. If you got a problem with your conversion or ticket sales being down a percentage, your objective should be to answer that. My objective is to get that down percentage gain up. I want to increase ticket sales by X percent. All right. And so, like I said again, describe it in terms of race. If it's an engagement problem, and you say, only 5% of our fans are engaging with our mobile app, or only 5% or 20% of our fans are actually um, attending the game after they purchase tickets. Those are things that you have identified as a problem, and then now your objective is answering, where do you want to be after you've executed this plan? Where should that plan field look like at that point? Okay. Here's the 5 S's I was trying to remember my memory. It's the sale, customer acquisition and retention target, serve, customer satisfaction target, sizzle, the wow factor, speak, engaging customers, save, quantified efficiency gains. These are the S's and objectives that you're doing. You're either selling something, you're providing a service for a customer, a wow factor, an engagement, which is the sizzle wow factor, or speaking uh, to customers from a nurturing perspective, or you may be actually saving costs or being figuring out something that's more efficient. Okay, and so you can use this in terms to help you in describing what your objectives would be for um, the situation that you've identified. Now that you've gotten your business case out the way, here's my situational analysis. Here's where we are now. When I'm done with this, here's where we will be. Now it's time to strategize. And your strategy always begins with your target market. Target market. Answer the question, who exactly are we targeting? And the way you answer this question is describe it in terms of persona, their what I call their digital profile. Um, when you do your research and understanding, target market research, customer insights, what you're trying to do is you're trying to build a digital profile of your 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 target audience. You're trying to understand what this target audience is like, what's their likes, their dislikes, their behaviors. You know, what's the demographic like? You need to be very clear on the demographic of this target segment. It's because, like a saying I always say, never go fishing in the jungle. You know, um, you got a fishing pole with a certain type of bait, and you're trying to catch fish. That's really what you're trying to catch, but you're in the jungle. And so, to get out of the jungle and get into the exact lake or freshwater or salt water or whatever the where the fish are that wants the bait you have on your hook, you need to make sure that you thoroughly understand your target market. Here's a graph that just shows some different things to take into consideration when you think of target market. Um, the demographic is the obvious one: gender, geography, demographic, and whether they're a consumer or is it a business. But you can go further. You can get get a target market persona based on it can be derived based on transaction value segmentation, propensity models, or you can get behavior aspects and say, I can break it down into category cluster, whether it be technology and kids, fashion, cars, parts, or recent activity. That's more into keyword research, understanding what was, their last purchase, categories, who's been looking for what when it comes to um, doing search. So there are other tools that exist also in your readings that talks to how to assess or come up with your target market's persona. And you want to take advantage of this because you want to make sure you understand who this target market is and what they're like. Now that you've gotten your target market, you want to define what's your value proposition. And value proposition actually is it's a lot more straightforward than people make it out to be. People use a lot of wording for value proposition, but value proposition isn't a, a ton of wording. You're essentially answering the question, what exactly am I offering my target segment? Using the example I talked about earlier, if you are a team and your situation was that your fan engagement has decreased X percentage season over season, and your objective was to increase your fan engagement by X plus percentage season over season, then once you've identified who your target segment is, okay, target segment, fans of X team, um, or basketball fans in particular in the area. Once you've identified who this target market is, what your fan persona is made up of, then now you're answering, okay, so what exactly am I offering them in my strategy for meeting my objective? If you're trying to increase in fan engagement, what are you offering them? A simple answer to that could be interactive mobile app. The short answer, mobile app. And then underneath mobile app, you can then start listing off bullets on, you know, where you're going to offer it, what makes you different, like some attributes about the mobile app. But you want to answer the question, what exactly am I offering them? Mobile app and in stadium mobile app. Who am I? Um, in not all cases that you may be offering your target market a theme. You may leverage your brand as well as a value proposition. You know, so like for instance, Apple has a big brand, Nike is a big brand. You may leverage your brand as I'm offering them, Nike exclusive um, wristband that has, or Nike exclusive wristband that measures your fitness. So the value proposition will be a fitness measuring device, and then you will have a brand proposition of brand positioning as also another value proposition. So that goes into the who am I part. Where do I offer it? What makes me different? Okay. So now you have a value proposition. That's the thing you're offering them. Now it's time to figure out the strategy for your content marketing mix. And so what this is once you start marketing to them, what is it that you're going to use as a strategy to market to them? This answers the question, what types of content am I using to reach my audience? Think of the content marketing mix. I'll show you that in just a second. And for your canvas, describe your strategy in the terms and the four things, the four pillars that gets into the psychology of marketing to people. You're going to either entertain them, educate them, inspire them, or convince them. And here's what I mean. If you look closely at this chart, let's break this chart out into first two halves, a left half and a right half, a top half and a bottom half, and then we're going to break it out into quadrants. Starting with the halves. If I took just the top and bottom half, right? What you see is going from left to right, awareness to purchase. You see how the colors start to change. Look at the awareness and the entertain box, top left. What that says is if you want to make a customer, if you want to bring awareness to a customer and you want to tap into their emotion, then here are the things you can do to entertain them. Virals, you can use a viral approach, quizzes, um, competition in some cases, games, branded videos. And then, but the closer you get to the center being widgets being in the middle of awareness and purchase, but still up in the emotional side. So widgets taps into the emotion, but goes from right in the center of awareness to purchase. When it's time to have them make a purchase on something, from an emotional perspective, you see the celebrity endorsements. The celebrity endorsements is where I inspire them emotionally to make a purchase. You see that? It's in the inspire quadrant, but it's up top and to the right. So which means that I am inspiring the customer to make a purchase emotionally by using a celebrity endorsement. And then if I go to the bottom half of the chart, you'll see it goes from on the left emotional down to rational. People make a purchase or make decisions either one or two ways, an emotional one or an irrational one. And you got some stuff in between. And so if I looked at it in emotional, if I wanted to tap into them emotional and just wanted them to get aware of something, I would most likely use um, virals, a viral approach or quizzes. But if I wanted to educate them, which is getting them to be more rational when it comes to me making them aware, then that's when you get into guides, infographics, trend reports. That's the logic that kicks in, right? And so you'll see the logic side from if I go from all the way from bottom to top, I go from a logical content marketing approach, which is guides and trend reports, all the way up to a more emotional, which is using quizzes or competitions. You see that? And so the same thing happens from left to right. Um, from left to right, whether it's making them aware of something, trying to entertain or educate them for an awareness purpose, or trying to convince or inspire them to make a purchase. If I was trying to convince you to make a purchase, right? The best thing that I can do from a rational perspective is to show you a data sheet and price guide. Do math for you. Data sheet. That's the prove it method. I need to show you a data sheet, price guide, do case studies, calculations. I need to prove it to you. All right. Um, and then the more I go into, the more emotional I get. Now I start. You see the center line being the ratings. So now ratings is using both logic and emotion to make a purchase. That's both on inspire. It's in the midway between inspire and convince. So this is a very useful chart when it comes to coming up with your strategy and your tactics for content marketing. These talk to the things that the material, the content that you're going to present to your potential customers to get them to engage or interact with your offering. Okay, and so the next step will be now to identify, once I got the content, a strategy for the content. The next thing I need to do is, how am I going to deliver this content to the target market? What distribution channels would I use to deliver my message to my audience? And so be able to answer the question, what vehicles or distribution channels will I use to deliver my message? Um, you don't have to describe that in terms of race. That's a mistake on there. So disregard the second bullet, describe in terms of race. But just consider, like, for an example, a distribution channel could be social media. Notice I did not say a specific social media outlet. There's at least 50 or more of them. I didn't say Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram. I said social media. Social media being a distribution channel, or email being a distribution channel. Examples of that is like email, social media. I'll show you some here. Here's some distribution channel strategies where you got, a website distribution channel. Word of mouth could be one. There's various distribution channel. Video, commercials could be a distribution channel. That's just the how, what channel am I going to use to deliver that message to my audience. And so now that you've identified and came up with a strategy approach to how you're going to gain and interact with customers, now it's time to dig deeper and go at a lower level and talk about the tactics. Tactics, what I mean by tactics is, these are the methods, specific methods or tools that you're going to use to reach your audience. These getting down to the nuts and bolts of what specifically will I use. And so, and tactics are broken down, as if you can recall from the digital marketing canvas. Tactics are broken down into the four components of reach, act, convert, and engage. With reach answering the question, how exactly will I reach my target market? Now, this is a little different from the distribution channel that I just talked about. The distribution channel strategy would be an example of that. Would be, I would reach my I would use social media as a channel, as a strategy for a distribution channel. But a tactic would be, I would place Facebook ads on Facebook to reach my target audience. That is a specific method and tactic, not just an overall, I'm going to use social media. This is more in specifically what social media you're going to use, and specifically what are you going to do to reach them. All right. So make sure you describe those exact methods or tools that you've used to reach your audience, and then tell me why you chose this method or tool. Once you've reached the audience, the next thing to do is to get them to interact. Right. So when you're thinking of a tactic for interaction, answer the question, how exactly am I going to engage with my audience and get them interested? What's the wow? What's the sizzle? What is it? Right? Describe the content marketing mix you will use to interact with your audience. So when you really think about it, right? If you think about the content marketing mix chart I just showed, that speaks to the actual meat. Once I've now identified the reach, which is the delivery method, the exact delivery method. So now I've delivered it to them, they have it. It's in hand or they're looking at it. Now, what are they looking at? So this is the tactic for act or interaction. What exactly, so this is going to a lower and a more detailed approach to your content marketing mix. And so now that you've gotten them interested, you've given them some content, you've given them the sizzle and the wow on content or the deal or the promotion. You've given them the thing that gets them interested. Now it's time to convert. And this is where the rubber meets the road. How exactly am I going to sell to my audience? And when I say sell, I mean that in the form of going from situation to your objective, going from losing 30% to gaining 30%. How exactly are you going to sell to them? An example of this would be, if your problem is fan engagement, one example of a convert method would be App Store. And here's what I mean. If your value proposition for your fan engagement problem was that you was going to create this app, this fan app that can be used in Stadium, then the conversion is getting the fans to download the app. So your conversion is download app, right? That's the point at which you convert it. If if you another example, if you had a problem with ticket sales or a problem with sales, um, concession stand merchandise revenues are down, your convert would be checkout cart, some point of sale maybe. Um, what exact method are you using to get the dollar out of the customers or potential customer pocket and into your bank account? What method is that? And in most cases, for digital presence on a revenue point, is some type of checkout cart or some point of sale. What is that thing that you're going to use to 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 funnel the customer into converting for you, converting? So talk to that, explain and describe that funnel. And so now that you've made a sale or you've gotten a fan to engage, now they're considered customers. Now they're customers. And now that you have new customers, how are you going to keep them? And so the last pillar to tactics is engage, or what I like to call it, nurture. And it's just like a relationship. How are you going to nurture your customers or fans to continue to come back and use you? And also, what will make them fall in love with you so much so that they become advocates? How are you going to stay in touch with them? How are you going to, you know, uh, nurture to them? What are you going to do after the sale has been made or after they've engaged with you? What are you going to do after you've made your conversion to make sure that they come back again? Okay. And so those first, you know, I would say 8 steps because the first step is just the architecture, the framework in which I explained. That's the whole method of how we're going about doing this whole planning. But after you've now identified, oh, we're going to use a soul stack framework, then that's where you get using the soul stack framework is how you get the digital marketing plan canvas. That's that canvas. And then after we've came up with a situation, objective, strategy, and tactics, these next two boxes are by far the most important sections of that canvas. The next section is the actions. That was the bottom left section. Think of actions as milestones and make sure that you answer the question who's going to do what when. This is what I call the accountability box. This forces you to break down your entire plan into attainable milestones and put a time frame on each of them and attach a person next to them, a resource next to them. So if there's anything, any and everything inside of those previous boxes, tactics box, strategy box, objective, there should be a milestone attached to the things that you're doing in any of those boxes. And so the who's going to do what when make make the whole team accountable for making sure the stuff gets done and they get done when you think they're going to get done and you know who's doing them. Okay. And so once you've established those milestones, right, now it's time. The last step is time to get started. It's time to monitor, set up a method for monitoring and measuring your KPIs. Those are your key performance indicators. And what this does for you is it answers the question, how do I know I've met my objectives? So how do you know you've met them, right? It's always a bad idea to find out after the fact whether you failed or succeeded. You should always monitor and measure any objective that you have, any objective, any tactic. You should monitor and measure people, process, profit, always. You have to create a dashboard. Creating a dashboard that encompasses your KPIs um, and actions help you to make sure that you are on track or most importantly that the organization thoroughly understands where they are currently. And so now that we've done all of that, I'm going to go back to the example, show you an example from a lawn care service, an example digital marketing plan. And then this is also an FSO too. If you pull up your SoulStack um, planning template, you'll see these two sheets on here. You'll see a blank digital marketing canvas, and you'll see one that's filled out by a lawn care company. And so I just want you to just take a look at a few things here. Just look at how he mapped out the situation. He broke it out in terms of race. You see, you don't have to have a problem in each tactic. It may be a few problems in one area. It may not be a problem in another area. You see, he has two act problems, two interaction problems, and one conversion, one reach, one engage problem. That's the assessment that he did for his ecosystem. All right, and then he came down to the objectives and also identify any objectives in terms of race. What should the results be from once this is done? What is his objective for this whole thing? Hey man, I want to increase unique visitors by 25% in 6 months. What's the vision? What's the vision? How high is it? and what's the time frame. And then once you can clearly identify your situation and objectives, the rest comes pretty easy. It's just an assessment. Okay. So that's all for today's um, GoToMeeting. If you guys have any questions whatsoever, you can ask them now. I'll stay on for a while to answer any of your questions, or you can instant message me, um, or send me an email, or actually give me a call. I hope you all enjoyed today's web meeting, GoToMeeting, and I shall talk to you next week. Take care.